Welcome, everybody, to Zeta Global Radio. Ooh, I'm so excited about this show today. I am surprised, being a pet owner of 7 pets of my own, that we haven't had a show to date that I can remember on ZGR in the last several years where we focused on pets, and probably because pets feels more of like a mainstream topic until we met Denise Mange, who will be here today. She's a certified pet intuitive trainer and founder of Pet Prana. And today we're going to talk about energy and pets, their chakras, our chakras, how it's all tied together, and really get a very new understanding on how to connect all of these energetic dots. I'm so excited, so right up my alley, perfect for ZGR and all of you listening out there. Let me just give you a quick little background. Denise received her BS from Boston University, her dog trainer certification from Animal Behavior College. She's a certified animal communicator, an intuitive energy reader through top experts in the field, and a member of the Association of Pet Dog Trainers, APDT. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you here, Denise. Yay, yay, yay.
Thank you so much, Lainie. That was a lovely introduction, and I love how you opened with how, talking about how our chakras tie together with our animal companions, because to your point, it's about connecting those dots and that interconnectedness that we share with our furry, feathered, even our finned and scaled friends out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. When we talked off air initially, getting to know one another before we began the idea that we were going to do this show, you had said that there's not a whole lot of people out there. There's people who are trainers. There's people who do all sorts of work in the field of training and obedience. And yet here we have this population of many of us, definitely our listeners, who work with energy in everything, communicating with people. So why wouldn't the same hold true for our dogs? So this show is long, long, long overdue, and I'm so excited. We're going to spend a whole hour talking to you, Denise, today. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just start with who you are, your background, and how you came into being in terms of sort of the awakened world and how that incorporated into the work that you're doing with our fur babies. So take it away. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So interestingly enough, growing up, I never had a dog. I was never allowed to have a dog. I grew up in São Paulo, Brazil, in an apartment building, and my dad was not a fan of animals. I think I got his share of the love for our animal companions.
Wow.
So, growing up, I didn't have exposure to having, one of your traditional pets. So I always felt very connected to the natural world. I was very intuitive. So my pets became caterpillars or doodle bugs, all these like tiny little insects that I could bring into my home and really bond with and connect with. And I think in retrospect, it's a beautiful experience because I realized that even the smallest little beings have personality, souls, wisdom to share. So growing up, I primed myself for that, but of course went through the traditional, corporate experience as you do. Society teaches you that you have to have a good job, you have to make a good paycheck. So I found myself in advertising in New York City. And, it turned out that it was a pretty great job leading up to the mindful approach to dog training that we're going to be talking about today. Because advertising is really about understanding, trends, motivations, and reading between the lines, even when people aren't able to really verbalize what they need or they want. So in advertising, I learned to become an observer of behavior. And when I decided at that point, advertising after 10 years in the industry, you hit that burnout point. I thought, well, I've always loved animals. Maybe I open a doggy daycare in New York City because, of course, that's, something that people really need because they work crazy hours, but they still want their animal companions to be cared for. So I went through the traditional dog training process. As you mentioned, I got certified through Animal Behavior College, and I learned all the traditional positive reinforcement techniques, and they were great, except for, I just felt teaching the dogs to sit, do this, change their behavior didn't really honor the bigger bond that we as humans share with our animal companions and what the lessons they're here to teach us. So that's where animal communication came in. It kind of snuck into my inbox an email about, learn animal communication workshop. And I was like, oh, that's silly. I don't know about this. And, then it just kept popping up, and I took the plunge, and the rest is history.
Well, I love the rest is history. The question is, when you talk about chakras and energy work, I don't know if is that always in animal communication? Because someone I would think has to naturally be awake and spiritually evolved to do that. So you at some point came with that toolbox as well, or is that completely learned from this new craft in your career?
Mm-hmm. So that's actually a great question, because I think all of us who are leading an awakened path, we look back to certain events in our life and we're like, oh, interesting, that kind of built on to this next phase. So there were a couple really key critical things that helped me build this new philosophy and approach to pet guardianship that we'll be talking about today. One was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That pyramid has stuck with me since 5th grade, and I didn't know why. It's something that, they don't usually teach in 5th grade, but it stuck with me, and it was an influential teacher, and it was in the back of my mind. That was one of the seeds that were planted. The next one is in high school. Growing up in Brazil, energy is really something that we're comfortable talking about and working in. So I became certified in Reiki in high school. So that's where I learned all about the chakras. And then
amazing.
And so the animal communication kind of brought it all together. Because as you know, I'm sure you've probably, having 7 little animal companions of your own, you've probably either, researched animal communication or felt it. And different animal communicators get different information. Some connect with the animal, and it's more about, I like this treat or I like that treat. There are other ones that are great with the medical intuitive aspect to it. Okay, they're having an issue in their right patella, and this is what needs to happen. And for me, it always came up around energetic themes and patterns, which I later started mapping up against Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which matches up with the energetic themes of each chakra.
I love that. You just did touch on a point. We did have Bonnie Ilias. She was on the show a couple years ago, and she specifically works in medical intuition, pets only. So we have had a pet show. I thought to myself, have I really not? But we've done so many shows. But we did have someone specifically in medical intuitive abilities, not humans. And so anyway, so it's interesting. But today we're going to focus on the communication that allows people to have a better understanding, right, of how to navigate their personalities, right? And so figuring out, well, you're going to tell us. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? When we come back, maybe we'll just start getting into it so people can really understand exactly what we're talking about today, which is our chakra system, their chakra system, the communication, and what is happening in the field, if you will. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Everyone stick around. We'll be right back. Conscious businesses. Do you have a powerful prayer, meditation, affirmation, audiobook, or music that you're ready to bring to the global stage? Have you considered taking your enlightened gifts to the next level by recording them professionally so the world can hear your knowledge and wisdom? Enlightened Audio and Sound is your production source for taking your talents and making them and you known all over the planet. Record in a magical setting with the expertise of renowned music engineer, composer, and recording artist Howard Merlin Wulkan. Will not only assist you in developing a concept that can be recorded with top-level commercial quality, but will also assist you in bringing your media asset to market in a variety of mediums, including digitally to iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and thousands of more outlets. To learn more, visit our Facebook page, Enlightened Audio and Sound, about bringing your business and career to new heights. Hi, Lainie Sevante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves. Welcome back to the show. Lainie Sevante Wulkan here with Denise Mange. And all right, so let's talk about this. We said people have said mange, of course, because they go right to the pet idea of that dogs have had mange, but it's mange, and we've clarified that. But interestingly, when you talk about mange and other issues that come up, are those things you addressed, or are those more medical pieces? I'm just curious, like, is that something that they're trying to communicate to us, that there's something going on?
Absolutely. So anything going on with our animal companion, we can garner a broader message in our life. So anything having to do with, mange or skin issues, whether in the pet or the human, it typically has to do with issues of the third chakra and feeling comfortable in your skin and stepping into your own power. So I love that you bring that up. And, names also are something that I love speaking about when it comes to our animal companions. Because, my name, now in retrospect, there's no other path I could pursue. My middle name, if you believe it, is Diggs. So it's Denise Diggs Mange, spelled like mange. I mean, how many clues that I'll be working with dogs could come into my life from day one? But our animal companions, their names, I love looking at the numerology behind their names, because we can get clues from that as to their personality, their inclinations, their motivations and their tendencies. So there's, that's a completely other show that we could go into.
Yeah, no, I love that. So we will do that in another show, because I'm fascinated, and I know our listeners are too. So why don't we start at the basics, because we're talking a lot today about chakras, and whether it's our chakras. I don't even know if people know that pets have a chakra system, or if they just thought it was humans. So maybe we start there and you lead them down this wonderful path.
Absolutely. So we all have 7 major chakras. We have a lot more, but the 7 major ones can provide a pretty good roadmap to all our motivations, behaviors, and our emotional territory that we're exploring at the moment. Our animal companions have the same 7 main chakras, and they're located roughly in a similar place, and they're connected to the same energetic theme. So the beauty of that is our animal companions and their energy centers can mirror ours. So the first chakra has to do with issues surrounding I am, safety, security, grounding, feeling tethered to the earth. The second chakra is located kind of right around the navel area, and it has to do with themes around I feel, right? So it's all about, power versus empowerment. It's about creation, guilt, abundance, the myth of separation, desire. The third chakra is located right in the solar plexus, right between your lungs. And that has to do with matters surrounding I do and taking action. So we'll be looking at energetic themes around the third chakra that would be around taking action and responsibility, personal power, a feeling of self-sabotage, right, which might come up when we think about putting ourselves out in the, into the world or creating a project. Sometimes we procrastinate because we're nervous about getting it out there. The fourth chakra is right around the heart, and that has to do with themes around I love. And so energetic themes are around self-care, emotional boundaries, intimacy, trust, self-acceptance. So that's always a huge one that we touch upon with pet parents, because they always have such beautiful open hearts. And animal companions, with their unconditional love, they blow your fourth chakra right open. They open them right up. The fifth chakra is super interesting. It has to do around issues around I speak and I'm heard. So we talk about being authentic and standing in your truth and finding your voice. And what's really cool about that is, as pet parents, our animal companions really help us do that, right? Because we have to stand in our truth and be authentic. We have to mean what we say and say what we mean. Because if I ask for a sit and I go, okay, sit, but if my energy is like, oh, I don't know if they're going to sit or not, I mean, we'll have to see how it goes, they're going to pick up on that energetic inconsistency, and they always follow the energy. The sixth chakra has to do with issues around I see. It's the third eye. And so that's a really cool one because it's all about illusion versus reality and, how you thought what your life was going to turn out versus how it is now, and how do you deal with that. It also has to do with issues of acknowledgement, intuition, seeing clearly, and parenthood. So going back and putting yourself in your parents' shoes and seeing the world through their eyes to reach a new understanding. The seventh chakra is located at the crown of your head, and it has to do with issues around and themes around I understand. And this one is so cool because it's talking about understanding your unique light and your role in the galaxy, the cosmos. It talks about your place in the universe or your place in the community or your place as a pet parent. But this is where we start seeing the big picture. It's where a lot of us know it as, achieving nirvana or self-actualization. So all these chakras kind of track on these universal themes that everyone can relate to. And so what I've done is I've mapped out different pet behaviors with each chakra so that we have additional clues as to what's going on in our energetic terrain, right? Because if my dog has some on-leash reactivity, if they're barking on the street at other dogs or they're really shy and kind of hiding behind me, I know that has to do with issues around the first chakra, which are those issues of maybe not feeling grounded or secure or in control of your life. So as we do traditional training to address on-leash reactivity, I always encourage the pet parent to also look at those universal themes around the first chakra because we can't just do one or the other anymore. We have to address everything from a traditional training standpoint, but also broader energetically in our lives. My pet parents always say, Denise, you're my dog trainer, but you're also like my life coach at this point.
That's really, well, I could see that. I mean, I think you've just opened up many people's minds and hearts just now, just even explaining that, because it's really clear that many of those things that people are doing the work when they become awake, but the fact is that our animals go through that too. I mean, I'm just thinking about, I'm just going to take one of my dogs who was a rescue, and I was like, oh, her first chakra is really just always needing so much self-care. So she feels safe, and who knows what her life was before we got her, and that in itself, you probably, as soon as you hear rescue, you immediately go, I already know what chakra, right? What chakras you're dealing with, because it's a whole nother aspect to when they come to somebody's family.
That first chakra is interesting because to your point, it does require a lot of self-care. And I think all of us waking up to our new spiritual reality as we're all putting together our little contribution to creating that new earth that has more, harmony and balance, we all really need to learn to be grounded and firm in our reality so that we can kind of tether that light for others around us. So the first chakra is actually one of the most popular reasons why pet parents contact me, whether their dogs are displaying on-leash reactivity, or even if it's a different behavior that they contact me about. A lot of times the dog's having issues with their spine or walking, and we can also use the physical clues to understand, which chakra is being affected, whether it's the humans or the animals.
Is abandonment issues, is that first chakra as well, I'm assuming, or is that?
Huge. It's first and tinges of the second chakra, because the second chakra has to do with the myth of separation, right? That thought of, if you're not physically with me, where are you? And so I've actually paired that with the behavior of separation anxiety and the need for independence training. But it also affects the first chakra, that abandonment, because it has to deal with the first relationship in our life, which is with our mother or our maternal figure. So if you have a little bit of trauma in the past, or maybe your mom was there, but she just wasn't as nurturing as you need, a lot of times we enter the abandonment mentality, and which can lead to a little bit of that sense of not having control in your life, maybe a little bit of that victim divine archetype. And so if we do find ourselves in that space, what we want to do is energetically find the path to the divine mother archetype, where we can be the mother to ourselves. We can nurture ourselves and provide that unconditional love and bubble around us.
So are you saying, just so I have that clear and I'm tracking, you're talking, what you just shared was if the human has had that experience, correct? And that energy can be potentially transferred or picked up by the pet? Is that what I just heard?
Absolutely, and thank you for asking for that clarification, because really our animal companions act as mirrors. So if they come to us with abandonment issues, we can probably assume that somewhere in our life there's a theme around abandonment that we want to re-examine and check into. If we have abandonment issues, odds are our animal companion is going to reflect something in that arena as well. As part of our soul family, I always like to say that our life with our animal companions, it's like we're all in the same class, we all read the same book, and we have to write a book report. And instead of writing that book report, separately, individually, we do it as a group project. So we're working together. So there's nothing that is going on with your animal companion's life that you can't translate to your own, and vice versa.
Exactly. Wow. Terrific. Okay, we are taking a break. We'll be back in a moment. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience. Hi, Lainie Sevante Wulkan here, and I'm so excited to announce that the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is now up and running in both Cape Coral and Fort Myers in Southwest Florida. If you are looking to be part of an organization and represent excellence in holistic and sustainable mediums and businesses, we'd love to have you be part of who we are. Go to holisticchamberofcommerce.com/Cape Coral or holisticchamberofcommerce.com/Fort Myers and learn all about what we are doing here in the beautiful land of paradise. Okay, so now for all of those who were just listening, we now have a much clearer idea of our chakra systems and that our pets are mirroring us. So once we identify that working with you or people who are very versed already in chakra, we have a lot of healers who listen. So once we realize that we can identify the chakra that may be out of balance, are there certain things that you can share with us today? And I know everyone's going to want to call you, that can be sort of DIY, things that we can start to do. And maybe, share us tell us more about your practice of how you work with people once we find the imbalance. I mean, you said Reiki. Do you do Reiki on the pets?
It's one of the tools that's in my toolbox. But whether or not you do Reiki or you do energy work, there's some really practical things we can do, right?
Okay, great.
Because for me, it's really important to empower the pet parents. Because a lot of times pet parents say, Denise, I don't do animal communication. I don't know what they're trying to say. So I try to give the pet parent all the tools they need to navigate not only the behavior from a traditional standpoint, but also energetically, right? Because if we're an observer of our life, we're going to pick up on different clues. So, for example, someone calls me into their home about, let's just say guest reactivity, right? That's when your dog is territorial and barks at people coming into your home, or maybe they're really shy and they hide. I've mapped that against issues having to do with the fourth chakra. So anytime a pet parent calls me and says, oh my gosh, my dog's not very good with visitors, I say, in mental note, all right, fourth chakra is going to be our starting point, and we're going to look at energetic themes around love, intimacy, and self-care. So, of course, we would learn the traditional training techniques because, again, it's important not to separate mind, body, energy. You know, we have to work at all aspects of them.
Absolutely.
But energetically, we would look at themes such as limiting beliefs that are associated with the fourth chakra. And limiting beliefs are just stories we tell ourselves, whether they've been passed down through society, like, you know, no pain, no gain. You know, we hear those a lot, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's examples of a limiting belief. Or maybe our experiences shaped limiting beliefs. Something around like, you know, if I'm not worthy of love, if I have emotions like anger and resentment, you know, I only want to be in delight. That's a limiting belief that a lot of us light workers have. So with get reactivity, we look at the fourth chakra and we think about, you know, do any of these limiting beliefs strike a chord? Things like, I do not trust myself to set up healthy boundaries around my heart and energy, or I do not deserve to be treated with the same compassion I show others, or I do not deserve to take time and space for myself. Those are some really good starting points when we're dealing with things like gas reactivity. And if any of those kind of strike a chord, or even I have people just sit back and think about how they feel when their dog's barking at strangers. Do you feel ashamed? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel like, oh, thank God they're protecting me? You know, what emotion comes up for you? And I also ask, where in your body do you feel that emotion? Is it in your heart? Is it in your belly? Like, start learning the vibration of that emotion, because we want to identify where else in your life do you experience similar emotions, and does this emotion elicit any memories, past experiences, or broader patterns in your life? For example, you know, a woman dealing with guest reactivity, a lot of times there's this frustration because their mother-in-law is coming over every Sunday, and when they come in, they do that mother-in-law thing that some of them like to do, like criticizing the cooking or doing some passive-aggressive comments. And so a lot of times guest reactivity has to do, like, where are you not standing up for yourself? Because if you're not creating those emotional boundaries in a loving way and saying, listen, you know, I love that you come over, but I don't appreciate you commenting on, you know, my cleanliness. Let's just have a good time and enjoy it. Forget those details. Our animal companions are going to defend us on our behalf. So we really want to find, you know, what's going on behind the behavior. When you feel an emotion triggered in your experience, where else can we extend that out? Does that make sense?
Oh my God, it makes so much sense that I'm sitting here thinking personally about a scenario with my dog, one of them, who's sweet as all get out, but she jumps as soon as somebody, you know, I have people coming in and out of the house all the time, but she jumps that first few minutes. It's like, why does she need to jump when she could just be excited and see them? Well, the other one doesn't do it. And I get, it's so bothersome that it's like every time, do not jump. And back in the archaic days, you'd ask somebody what to do, and they'll say, you know, I remember a trainer's like, well, squeeze her hands till it hurts. And I'm like, that quite doesn't feel like the methodology that I'm going for. And I know jumping, you probably get that a lot, about dogs that are wonderful, but they jump.
Yeah, and so that's a really beautiful example, because what I would say, what kind of has been an intuitive hit is, where in your life as a little girl, and I feel it's probably around the age of 4 or 6, like very young, did people tell you were too much? You were too exuberant, you were too excited to welcome people into your heart. And so it's a little bit of that reflection back of, did someone at some point tell you had to squash that aspect of yourself? So your animal companion's bringing out that exuberance, and you're like, okay, I need to revisit that. And maybe it's about finding the happy medium for both of you, rather than kind of building walls around your heart or trying to, you know, play it cool. What's the happy medium where you're still authentic to yourself, but it's still acceptable?
You know, I'm going to think about that one, because I guess the first thought was embarrassment. Like, I feel embarrassed that she does that, why isn't she why, there's an embarrassment or a little shame piece I could feel around the energy, but I've never sat. The beauty of what we're talking about here, and everyone who's listening, is that we are able to go, because you're sharing that with us, reflect within ourselves. What is it that we're feeling? Is that what you're saying? Because I feel it in my stomach of like, oh, I'm embarrassed. Like, this person just sat down to talk with me and my dog's already jumping on the couch to be smothered and loved by this person, which is sweet and endearing for about a minute, but then it's like, okay, you've made your announcement that you're here.
Shame is something that as pet parents, we really experience, because we feel the reflection of us in our parenting style and our skills. So if our dog is barking at someone, and it can make us feel a little shamed and vulnerable and embarrassed. Yeah. And what I love about being a pet parent is, you put yourself in your parent's shoes, because at some point your parents probably felt the same way about us when we were throwing temper tantrums at the supermarket. So it's really about, when we feel that shame, how do we, rather than try to fix the situation and change the pet's behavior that's quote-unquote naughty, how can we meet them where they are, help them understand, I know you're excited, I know we have a new person, but let's give you a different protocol. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to collaborate together on a process that works for everyone, for me, for the animal companion, and the guest.
So you teach the pet parent to have that direct communication to the pet? I mean, there's full dialogue that has to happen or can happen.
Full dialogue, because we learn very traditionally to communicate with them through treats and a reward system. That's what traditional positive reinforcement training is all about. And then energetically, I can give them all the treats I want, but if I'm sitting there fuming and ashamed and my body's tight, they're going to pick up on that energy, and they're like, okay, everything's not okay. And then that can oftentimes make the guest reactivity even worse, or whatever issue you're working on. So even very basic ways to communicate with your animal companions, it might not be a telepathic communication necessarily right off the bat, but we have different ways to communicate and let them know what's expected of them and how we're authentically stepping into our truth and our reality.
That's beautiful. I was told once, and I've been doing it for years, when we travel, that I know for sure I make a concerted effort to sit down with the dogs, let them know we're leaving, but we're coming back, and that, and I kind of give them the routine, sometimes I say it out loud, sometimes I've just telepathically let them know who's coming, you'll be safe, they'll be here. I literally read them the entire itinerary of what's happening before I go somewhere.
And I recommend my pet parents do that as well, because we know from a scientific, proven fact that they have the cognitive ability of a 2-year-old human child. And I think it goes way beyond that. So I always say, explain to your dog what's going on, let them know, fill them in as you would for a small child. And even if they don't understand the exact words, they're picking up on the energy behind it. So I love what you're doing.
Beautiful. All right, well, we're going to take another break. When we come back, let's learn more about how people can spend some time getting to know you, and I'm assuming work remotely with you, right? Because you are, let's talk about that, because here we are, a global show, so something tells me that you offer all sorts of ways to get to know your own pets better. You're listening to ZGR. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome to the Natural Awakenings Northern New Mexico July issue. Natural Awakenings feature articles share the important health benefits of organic farming. They are also proud to present exclusive interviews with Grandmother Florida Mayo and several of other indigenous grandmothers, and inform you about important alternative options to opiates for pain relief. A lot of amazing events are happening this month that will help you connect to other like-minded people in your community. Be sure to check out the calendar and relish in the cosmic connection with your fellow New Mexicans. May we all be inspired this month to look at the bigger picture. If you like to market your business or services with Natural Awakenings, New Mexico's leading wellness magazine that reaches thousands of health and wellness conscious readers, please email publisher@naturalawakeningsnmm.com or call Andrea at 505-999-1319. So before we took a break, we were just starting to learn more about you, Denise, and that you work with people globally. And let's learn more about that and how really through social media, everything feels global and interactive. Thank God. I mean, the show is in itself is in multiple countries as a result. So the people who come on here naturally have the ability to connect with anyone if you're in Cairo or the Isles of Trinidad or Alaska or Hawaii or LA. So this is pretty exciting. So yeah, let's tell people how to get to know you better, Denise.
I love that. So anyone wanting to know more about me or my philosophy can go to my website, Pet Prana. That's PRANA.com. And on there, I'm a huge believer in creating a community and offering free resources, because if you are a pet parent who wants to learn and learn alongside your animal companion, I love that and respect that, and I want to give you as many free resources as I can. So that's a great place to start connecting with me. I'm also on social media, Instagram and Facebook as @Denise_trainer, like dog trainer. But really, if you'd like to connect with me and learn more, I offer in-person services if you're in the Los Angeles area, or I do travel to do workshops. I offer a lot of remote information because I know that for me, the internet has really opened up a whole world to me. All of my certification courses have been online. So I offer an online course called Healing with Chakras, which is my signature course. And it's a 7-week course. Each week we go deeper into a pet behavior and the chakra and the energetic beings that are reflected in each of them. And we build upon them. So the first week we talk about unleash reactivity and themes around our interconnectedness with our pets and grounding, safety, and security. On the second week we talk about the second chakra and separation anxiety in animals and energetic themes of personal power and stepping into your purpose work. On the third week, we talk about managing unwanted behaviors like barking, chewing, digging, all that kind of thing, and issues of the third chakra. Fourth week, we talk about the fourth chakra, I love, emotional boundaries, self-care, and we talk about gap reactivity. On the fifth week, we talk about speaking your truth in the fifth chakra, which is so powerful because I'm a slight woman and I'm not very imposing, and my leadership style, my authentic leadership style is going to be very different than a 220-pound, 6'4" man. So it's about finding how leadership works for you in your life with your animal companion, and then you'll find that it translates more broadly to your life. The sixth week, we talk about the sixth chakra and issues around housebreaking, and we make sure energetically we talk about illusion versus reality, but we also talk about leading an intentional life. So how to make sure we're energetically cleansing our homes, our auras, our pets' auras. And then the seventh week is really interesting. We talk about the seventh chakra, which is understanding the big picture. And when it comes to our pets' behaviors, we talk about moments of crisis with our pets. So what to do when we have a lost pet, or our pet is sick or has transitioned. How does that affect us in a broader way? So that's an online course. I've had people from all over the world take it, and people say it's really been changing their life and transforming things for them. And I feel strongly that this is the way forward in pet guardianship. This is the beginning of the new way forward. And whether you have an animal companion or not, I've had people take it, just because the chakras are such a wonderful, systematic way to go through different things in our lives. Because how many times as people walking our spiritual path, we're like, all right, something's off, I feel some blockages, but oh my gosh, where am I even going to start, right? And that's where the chakra system gives us that methodical review of different themes. And if there's no blockage, awesome. We can reaffirm the limiting beliefs and stories that are working for us. And if there are blockages, we have some jumping points of what to look at and revisit and kind of replace and change our story.
2 questions. Let's start with the first one before we wrap up here today. And yes, I would love to have you back. It seems like we've got a lot to talk about. The first question is in the sense of the dogs that the belief that, and of course on this show, we're all very awake to many different thought forms, and one is about reincarnation and dogs incarnating multiple lives. Is that an area that you touch on? Of course, I go right to that movie, and it actually came up over the weekend when I was with somebody and she was teaching about essential oils for horses. I was like thinking about that. So is that an area that you touch on?
We do. We talk about reincarnation. We talk about shape-shifting. We talk about what for all the star seeds out there. We talk about, dogs come from a different star seed than cats do, and horses. Horses have Arcturian energy. Dogs are more Pleiadian. So we talk about everything under the sun. And I know a lot of the animals that I've encountered within my course, we do mini readings during the live Q&A portion, and we've had a lot of dogs who've been together with their pet parents for many lifetimes, and sometimes they share about that with us.
Do you work in your practice primarily with domestic pets, or do you do a variety of animals? I just wondered sort of the range of people who may be interested in working with you.
Absolutely. So with the traditional aspect of the training, it is more focused around dogs. But I've worked with, cats, horses. We even use animal totems. So with each chakra, there's a different animal totem or animal in the wild that provides messages for us. So this can be applied to any animal, whether it's in the physical, in a bronze statue. Any animal catching your attention has a message for you.
Totems are actually a big piece in our world. I think they're fascinating. You said totems, just so I heard you correctly. Yeah, the messages of them.
And really, what we're doing is we're going back almost to like what our the Native American cultures and tribes of the United States or the Aboriginals in Australia, or all those old cultures. They looked at the animals and they had a lexicon with them. They knew, what the eagle meant, what the fox meant, what the coyote meant. And so what we're doing is we're almost coming back into that remembrance of that connection with nature. So all of the animals, all of the signs, even numerology, sacred geometry, colors, chakras, these are simply patterns that are getting our attention so that we understand the essence of the vibration of each. Because that's what we're getting back to, is the essential vibration of each experience.
Wow, you've brought that so clear. I even say that to people when I do my tarot readings, that the information is just coming through intuitively. The cards are just really for them to anchor in what I'm saying by a visual imprint, but it's mostly just what's already in the field. And I think that's what you're sharing along the same lines, is just picking up what energetically is happening through different representations.
That's absolutely right. And what beautiful representations we have in our natural world, right?
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. Well, I'm so grateful that you were here and we got this interview in, and I look forward to seeing where you go with it. Do you think there'll be a book in the future for you?
Absolutely. We're looking at publishing probably in the fall of this year, 2018.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to break this down for, whether it's taking the live class or the book or a combination.
Yeah, that's terrific. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you stay on the line? We'll say goodbye to everybody else. And Denise, we'll go ahead and also put your information on our page. So there's all possibilities and people on how to reach you in the work that you're doing. Again, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners and all our furry friends out there helping us along on our journey.
Terrific. Everybody, thank you again for being here. If you like the show, please share it far and wide. We are now available in so many outlets. Of course, social media, you can find us everywhere, particularly on our Facebook page and LinkedIn and our YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing to our Zeta Continuum channel. You'll get first dibs, first release. The minute you subscribe, you will have first access, and a lot of times we release the show early there first before we put it on ZetaGlobalRadio.com. So lots of ways, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you are, just listen to us, and we hope we inspire you continuously. I know this show did for me, and I look forward to doing it for you and all your fur family. Everyone have a blessed week. Take care.